it was interesting because I was visiting some family just yesterday, and we were talking about just kind of lighthearted things initially, and then my mother was present, but I wasn't talking necessarily to her, but I was talking to a family member that we were talking about things, and this family member's older than me, and actually helped assist raise me as well. But it was interesting because as we were communicating, um, we ended up talking about like some more serious things. We kind of just transitioned into abortion and the death penalty all of a sudden. And
Yeah.
this person is more, I'm going to say more on the left, a little bit, not a little bit, definitely all the way, So, but she's under the impression that black people are the foundation of society and stuff like that, and that we're the chosen people of God, and she's also under the impression that the evil white man is corrupt and he's gonna destroy us and all that kind of stuff, and the government is conspiring against us, and all this stuff. So she's telling me these things, but then she goes right into abortion and how she feels that it's needed at times to and then she kind of went into the fact that she's a woman, so you know she has, as a parent, she has a lot of children, five children, so she has some authority to talk about this, but when it comes to a guy giving his thoughts about this, that wouldn't make
She's one
sense.
of
She doesn't agree with it.
those.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then not too long after we were talking about that, she's talking about the death penalty and saying how she doesn't support it. And I was thinking to myself, it's so interesting how she's okay with uh, offering the death penalty to a child that, even if it was, the situation was rape, to sentence the child to death. But she's not okay with the death penalty, supposedly, and I just thought it was interesting because I used to actually get in a lot of arguments with this particular family member because obviously we're conflicted, and I've tried to let her know that I can't agree and connect with a lot of what she's saying because I'm a Christian, and I've tried to explain that I've been changed from the inside out. I don't have those kind of thoughts anymore. That now my thoughts are only grounded by God's word by itself alone. There's
Yeah.
nothing else. There's no opinions. There's nothing that transcends God's truth. It's only Bible for me. It's only Bible. So if anybody opens their mouth and they say anything that's antithetical to what the Bible teaches, I can't agree with it. And it's not because like I'm angry or mean, or I'm trying to be a bully, but I can't agree with it. And so but I thought of a verse, and I have it here in 1 Corinthians 2:14. It says, the natural person does not accept the things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness to them, uh, and he is not able to understand them because they are only spiritually discerned. Only people that are, born again can understand certain things that God has now revealed to them. But those that are still enslaved by their sinful nature, they're still locked out of some of those things. So
Yeah.
I don't mind engaging people like her or other, but I also know that unless God awakens them, we'll just be going in circles over and over again. And so I didn't initiate as much as I could have with the conversation, but it's just interesting because that's something I think that gets a little. I think for a lot of us Christians, we have to be more aware of is that just because we engage these discussions, we're not going to always win people over because if God's not involved and God doesn't soften their heart, nothing's going to happen. But I just find it intriguing how and it's so strange because I don't know if I want to complain about this or maybe it's a good thing, but I always feel like the people around me, like if somebody shares with me their perspective about something, I don't need for them to repeat it over and over again. I know, and I'll keep it in mind that this is this person's philosophy or this is
Yeah.
their idea or whatever, and so I don't need to keep revisiting over and over again. I know what it is now, but I feel like I keep meeting people that they keep getting I don't know appealed to to engage me in these discussions in which they already know where I stand, and they know that I'm not willing to compromise because I've already shared God's word, and that's where I usually stand. Is I always put it on the table and present God's word so everyone knows where I stand. So if they think about revisiting, they say, "Oh yeah, James already shared that verse with me." But I meet some people that it's like it's I don't know. It's like over and over again. And I don't understand if some people are trying to be antagonistic. I don't know if they just forgot, and I don't know what what's going on with that. And I don't know if you've dealt with that or you're in a place where you have yet. But
Hmm.
yeah, it's just yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting because as a Christian,
Well,
I'm not like some guy who adopted religion. Like I'm God has now changed me. I'm not the same person I was. Like His word really resonates with me now. It's truth, and so
yeah,
yeah, I
and
think. Mhm.
I think it goes both ways. Like even someone like you assume you know their position. It's not like you want to bring it up all the time, especially if it's conflicting, right? There's a setting and a place, time and a place for that, right? But if someone's like spouting off ideas like that and it's so antithetical to your beliefs and everything, if you have like you don't have to be hostile about it or anything, right? But just sharing stuff that you maybe are most confident in, or expressing your ideas that way, and not trying to make a big deal out of it. But it's kind of just depends on your mood too, right? Sometimes you're not in the mood
Oh
to
yeah,
like
oh yeah.
have to
That has a
explain
lot
this
to do
again.
with it. It has a lot to do with
Yeah.
handle situations.
No, I get you. I'm curious about her though specifically because you said she thinks believes in the government trying to like oppress you, but is for abortion. And has she looked at like where these clinics are placed, right? Like where the majority of the buildings are and what communities, and kind of what that means and entails. And I'm wondering if that would change her mind at all.
No. I don't believe that this particular family member is aware that Margaret Sanger was a devout racist
Yeah.
who, yeah, people in the black and brown community were not worth um, anything, and strategically placed her Planned Parenthood locations in black and brown communities. So no, and even so ironic that the family members that I was visiting, there's literally, gosh, less than a mile away, or maybe about a mile or so. There's actually a Planned Parenthood actually walking distance from that area. Yeah, yeah. It's interesting because you have to be very I don't know, you kind of have to be observant to know where it is. There's no, of course, obviously no signs or anything, but
There's no like
but
Hollywood sign or like
yeah,
Vegas sign with someone pointing at it, glowing
yeah,
lights.
but yeah, I stay up to date with things like that, so I'm aware of its location. But yeah, it's not really. It's one of those buildings where yeah, if you were walking by, you would never know what it is.
Yeah.
Everything is like kind of blocked out, and it just looks like it's a clinic, but it's like no signs. There's no nothing. There's just a camera, just to watch, just to make sure it's. So, but yeah, I know what it is. But yeah, it's yeah, yeah, it's fascinating because I find that when it comes to evangelism, when it comes to communicating spiritual things, um, I do know that the Christian, for example, has a responsibility to speak God's truth in love. Um, and there's a desire for that. But I also know that, Jesus also, um, really directed Christians to also know when to know when the limits are as well when it comes to sharing the gospel. And he said, for example, not to present like our pearls before swine,
Yeah.
and the idea is really not to waste time with specific people, and
No,
you
when
know,
the
I
conversation won't be per constructive.
yeah, 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 and it's not saying like, hey, don't talk to people about Christ, it's not that, but I think there's some people obviously maybe in a certain season in their life, they have a more hardened heart, and it's just not productive, so I still see it as
Oftentimes, God is hardening the heart. That's what's crazy. And biblically, like He hardened Pharaoh's heart. He hardened other people's heart. The other kings they're fighting. Like that's
uh-oh.
crazy too. That God's role in that.
It is. It is. You better be careful. You sound like a Calvinist saying that.
It's literally what says in the Bible. It says God hardened their hearts. What do you want from me? I'm not trying to be a label.
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
I've
But
read
yeah,
it.
the modern church, I'm going to say, does not believe that God would do something like that. The modern church would believe that we have the authority to harden our own hearts, and we decide when we're ready if we want to be right with God. That we have the authority to do that, and God has nothing to do with that. But yeah, you're right. The Bible teaches that God hardens the heart, and it's
Yeah.
and also God is the one that saves people and gives us a heart of of flesh as well. So, but yeah, it's just funny because in the Reformed community, we'll simply quote the Bible, and people are, oh, well, we have to choose to be with God, and we're the one that hardens our heart, and we have to be ready. And it's like, but that's not what the Bible actually says. But yeah, I got in trouble with a few people just for quoting what you just quoted.
Yeah.
So actually, God hardens the heart, and I'm like, oh well, no, that's a misinterpretation. Let me see my Bible.
I'm sorry. Like word for word. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I'm telling you.
You know.
Yeah,
But it's what's interesting too is that the concept of you said she feels like she has more experience because of the kids and stuff, and I really don't agree with that concept of like not being able to talk about a topic because you don't have the experience in it, right? I think yes, your word might be more credible to some audience members because of your experience in that realm or what have you. But that's for the audience to decide how credible you are, right? You should put your stuff out there and then let other people decide whether they want to listen or not, or whether they take you for your word. Because it's really relevant in the abortion conversation. It's a lot relevant on the pro-choice side that they're talking about. It's my uterus. You don't have a uterus, so you have no opinion on it, right?
yeah,
And that's
yeah,
just not. That's not the case. That doesn't bar it from criticism. That doesn't mean we can't discuss it. It's the same
correct.
concept of people getting really upset at sports games. Like people get so upset at an athlete or someone that doesn't perform well when it's like, when have you stepped on the field? What have you done? Right? Have you
I
played the
love
game?
that. I love that.
I get
I love
so
that.
upset when I see so much slander for these professional athletes, and it's like I know how hard it is to get there. I mean, I haven't
Right.
ever been there or anything, but I know the
Yeah,
dedication it
so yeah,
takes.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
man.
what have you done that's worth any recognition in your life? And right, more everyone's on a different scale, but that also, like, as much as I want to say that, like, it doesn't limit critique. You still have
Yeah,
every
yeah,
right to voice your opinion. You
yeah,
don't have to go through this whole 20-year whatever rigorous process to even voice an opinion on it. You don't have to have a kid to voice an opinion on it. You don't have to read the entire Bible to voice opinions on spirituality.
yeah. I agree.
Um,
Absolutely.
so I don't agree with that concept of like you need experience in the realm to have a opinion at all. Like no, put it out there, let other people decide. That's their prerogative.
Amen.
But gatekeeping
Yeah,
that is not healthy.
I agree. Yeah, it's just not realistic because we try to apply that to everything else. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work that way. Yeah. No, I agree, and I think it's interesting because, and again, I don't want to sound like some political commentator, but yeah, that's something that's an approach that people on some specific uh, sides of the political aisle usually argue with a lot of things like, oh hey, well, you don't
Yeah.
have these sexual organs, so you don't have an opinion. You don't have it's like, well, no, I actually do. And yeah, and even more so as a Christian man, like I do have a responsibility to protect the unborn, even if it's through an argument. And I don't mean like to bully people, but yeah, even if I can just share simple facts, that's my duty. One of the reasons why that um, this whole topic is really intimate to me is I had my mother had a situation in which she was hit by a car when I was still with her and she didn't even know she
Yeah.
was pregnant. Yeah, and it was crazy how she later told me that there were some uh, healthcare physicians that various physicians kind of informed her that it probably wouldn't be wise to move forward with the pregnancy now that she was you know pregnant and things like that. And yeah, I'm just thinking to myself how there's so many people that will have an opinion about that, even if they have supposedly the credibility that the world would assume has, some type of title behind, the name and everything like that. But yeah, it's like you literally do not know what would happen. We can't just go around killing children just because we think it'll be an inconvenience for the mother, or that's terrible. That's hitting,
Yeah.
or yeah, yeah. And even if it's rape or something like that, like how dare us as a society say, well, this child was born with this horrible situation. Here, let us go kill this child for the sins of the father. Like I don't, it doesn't
Yeah,
make sense.
I really like. Thank you for sharing that. I think it takes a lot. And you talked about it in your abortion videos, and it was really impactful. I loved your arguments there, And I love the concept that you brought up of the sins of the father, right? And blaming that. And
Yeah,
no one ever thinks about that because they're quick to bring up those situations, but it's not the kid's fault at all in any sense. The kid should not suffer because of that. And you're absolutely
right.
right with that.
Yeah. So it's yeah, it's interesting because yeah, I didn't really care for this topic beforehand, but it just feels like the more God has kind of pulled me closer to Himself, this has become like other things as well, has become just something very intimate to me. So
Yeah.
I remember the first time I had a discussion with somebody, and I think I shared it on one of my abortion videos, but I just remember it was just fascinating how this guy was definitely more intelligent than me, for sure, and he was traveling the world. He was in the process of building a business, father a politician in Germany, and he was visiting a friend, and we had this discussion, and I think he was just intrigued by what it is that I had to say about faith and philosophy and all these other things. And we just ended up talking about abortion. And he said, "Oh, I'm a Christian as well. And I don't believe in abortion except for," and he had like, I think he said rape or something like that. And I just walked him down the list of different arguments and why they don't work, when you try to carry them out consistently.
Yeah.
And yeah, so, and he changed his mind. And I realized right at that moment, wow, like it really helps just to be informed about these things instead of just assuming the next person who's a really good talker or speaker, they'll handle it and God will use them. And I realized like, no, I as a Christian man, I have the responsibility as well to be a part of that discussion. So yeah, I think it does ourselves a disservice when we don't arm ourselves. We have to kind of be ready to you know
No,
to answer these difficult questions.
100%. I think that could be your calling to the sense that we're like that message specifically. You have such a good perspective on it, and so you explain it very well. So we'll link those videos again. I know they're linked before, but they'll be up there. Those two specific ones. Um, yeah, those will be in the top corner right there if you guys want to check those out.